Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's David Kamay, and it is Sunday the 12th of February 2017. Now, the Common Law Nations Alliance propose, this is what we propose, it is this: maintain the line of sovereignty and allegiance and authority and jurisdiction. It's extremely important that we maintain that line of sovereignty, allegiance, authority and jurisdiction, which is something you can also put into practice. For example, recognise that organisations such as a local council or a national government recognise that they are now corporations serving international corporate interests amongst others. They have no allegiance to the sovereign, and therefore have no authority over you, and the jurisdiction is only yours if you consent to it. As Theresa May has said, we are ruled by consent. Another thing, we must understand that no man or woman is under the authority of anything or anyone but what is lawful, unless, that is, he or she consents through a contract by submitting themselves or registering themselves voluntarily. And that's also using their legal fiction, which of course I'll explain, it'll cover in a second. Government cannot make the law. I repeat that, government cannot make the law. It only makes legislation which should be acts of law, that is, helping define the law for particular circumstances, not inventing new burdens for people, not inventing new duties. It should be just about defining the law for particular circumstances. Also, law can only be applied, you can only apply the law, not enforced. You do not force the law. So enforcement, which we hear about so much, is an anomaly with regards to the law. So anyone trying to force the law has seriously something to answer. Legislation is now generally for, as we understand, of course, if we look about us, legislation is now generally for the policy structuring of corporations, which have no lawful authority unless you contract with them. I talk of law. What is it? It is the common law, which is God's law through Christ, implemented through man's common sense and reason. The fundamental book of the common law is the Bible. A man under common law stands in that golden area of jurisdiction, authority, allegiance and sovereignty between him, the law, the sovereign, and God through Christ. When a member of a local council says that you owe the local council money, then they make a claim. They cite legislation, which is not law, although they say it is, which is deception. But for their claim to be true, the burden is on them to prove it, to prove that you as a man or a woman in some way owe allegiance to them, or that you stand under their authority. Therefore, they must prove that you have signed your allegiance elsewhere. For councils have no allegiance to the sovereign, as they are corporations in partnership with other corporations, some of which are international. Therefore, of course, also in contradiction, they are against the Bill of Rights 1688 under supremacy, which you can look up at legislation.gov.uk. Also, when they make their claim, they do not use your name. They use the legal fiction. That is Mr., Mrs. or whatever. They have a title. This legal fiction is not you, the man or woman, but you, the man or woman, can put it into effect if you wish. It is like a suit that you can take off and put on. So if you do not wish to use your legal fiction, then don't. Don't put that suit on. Remain independent of it. It can't touch you. But if you have signed using your legal fiction, then you are bound to their jurisdiction. We must remember that unless you have contracted yourself away, that is, given your consent to another authority or jurisdiction for anything to have any authority over you, it must be lawful. So we must remember, I'll say it again, we must remember that unless you have contracted away, or i.e. given your consent to another authority or jurisdiction for anything to have any authority whatsoever over you, it must be lawful. And for any action to be taken against you, that too must be lawful in a court that has allegiance to the sovereign, with a judge who is under his oath to the sovereign, where it is man on man, not man against corporation. For under common law, only the man may take action against another man. So if you're in that jurisdiction, it's got to have all of these ticked. It's got to be lawful. It's got to be in a court that has allegiance to the sovereign, with a judge who is under his oath to the sovereign, where it's man on man. Also, ensure that papers are served, that the proper procedure is followed. Papers have to be served and received and acknowledged. Whereas, of course, you'll find with these local councils that they serve papers, they say they have and yet they haven't, then they do a court case which you don't know that's happening. So they break all procedural rules, even though the procedural rules is according to common law. But of course they're doing it within their jurisdiction. So really it's nothing to do with you unless you have signed up to it. Overall, we are in a time when we must hold our ground, just as it states in Ephesians 6. That means hold on to what is true and good and under the true authority, which is ultimately God through Christ. And by doing just this, by focusing on holding your ground, recognising your jurisdiction, recognising the true authority, recognising the true jurisdiction, but just by doing that, working with that, and the councils and so on give us great opportunities to do it. Just by doing that, you begin to appreciate real freedom, and you begin to understand the importance of true government and true sovereignty, true jurisdiction, true authority, as well as God through Christ and the common law. So it's enormously edifying when you begin to understand these differences and hold your ground and live how you want your authority to be accepted. If your authority is lawful, if it's God through Christ, through the common law, through the sovereign, then live by it, feel it, and you'll find that it gives you enormous freedom. It helps you feel like a real, true man or woman. And it really is the only way that any improvement can be made, I believe, in this country now, and in any common law country. It's the only way that I believe any improvement can be made. We can't make any improvement by registering to vote to their system, because of course that system is a corporate system. It is anathema to the true line of sovereignty that I've talked about. So the only way, if you really want to make any effect, political effect, I believe, is to start working in accord with the law. And when you do that, when you hold your ground, as it says in Ephesians 6, and I believe that Ephesians 6 very much refers to the period of time we're going through right now, when you hold your ground, you're paving the way, actually, I believe, for something far, far better. And if you're concerned about all sorts of chaos happening because of this, you'll understand that that won't happen, because those who are under the true authority, under the true jurisdiction, under the true law, who are in accord with God through Christ, do not rampage around and cause terrible things. These are the men and women who actually want true government, the true government that's talked of in Romans 13. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and have a very good day.